Representative Adam Smith is joining us from the great state of Washington, Democrat, ranking member of the minority Democrats on the Armed Services Committee. Trusted source to discuss things with intelligence and integrity. Representative, thank you for joining us, especially early in the morning when you have such long days. Appreciate it. What is your concern about what you understand as a major member of Congress about what the goals and strategy and philosophy are involved in the current hostilities?
I have number one, what are those goals exactly? The administration has been a bit all over the map, depending on who you talk to and what the objective is. And a lack of clarity in a military mission is deadly. So what exactly are the goals, and then what does it look like when we achieve those goals? We've gotten a bunch of different answers. You and I was on your show with Pat Fallon last night, member from Texas, who was focused on the nuclear aspect of this. Others have talked about ballistic missiles. Others have talked about regime change. We need a clear set of goals, because this is a war now that is blowing up the Middle East. I mean, Americans have been told that they're not safe in 14 different countries. We have a number of different countries being attacked, civilian casualties. We already have 6 U.S. service members who have been killed. We need to know what we're trying to accomplish and what the plan is to accomplish it, and that has not been clearly laid out by this administration at this point.
Let me ask you something. The idea of the nukes, were they obliterated or not? Were they wrong then, or are they telling you something that you don't believe now?
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. I mean, there's just dishonesty contained in that. I mean, I never believed in the first place that they had completely eliminated nuclear weapons. I think you and I talked about this at the time. Now, I've been looking at this for 15 years, and, the military's always said there really wasn't a military solution. You couldn't do just a couple of airstrikes and completely eliminate their nuclear program. And we never got the information from this administration, the specifics. Okay, how damaged was it? When is it coming back? And it's pretty clear that the nuclear piece of this is just being used as an excuse. But I'll tell you the most useful thing I can tell you. Based on the briefing I got yesterday from Secretary Rubio, Hegseth, Kaine, and Ratcliffe, I think the most honest answer, if the administration were to give an honest answer about what they're trying to accomplish, is they want to smack Iran around enough so that they are weakened, number one, and number two, whoever it is who winds up running Iran at the end of it, we will have sufficiently broken them that we can then force them to do what we want. I think that's what they're trying to do. There's not a specific number of ballistic missiles that they want to eliminate. There's not a specific point on the nuclear program. They're not even actually that hung up on regime change. Well, I think this is what Hegseth meant when he made that sort of offhand, sarcastic remark yesterday. This isn't about regime change, but the regime sure has changed. I think that's what they're going for, and there are all kinds of problems with that approach. To begin with, they should just tell us straight out that's what they're doing, instead of, fainting in a whole bunch of other directions.
Do you believe that Israel motivated the president to do this, that he's being manipulated or encouraged?
That's a tough call. I believe without any shadow of a doubt that Netanyahu wanted the president to do this and lobbied him hard to do it. I don't think there's any question about that. The thing I would say is I think Trump was probably inclined to do it anyway. I don't think he needed the persuading because, that's sort of Trump's view of the world. If there's someone who opposes him, we're going to go punch that person in the face repeatedly until they bow down to us. And certainly Iran and the U.S. have conflicts of our own. So I think Trump would have done it anyway. But, yeah, there's no question that this is something that Israel wanted us to do.
Do you think, Congressman, sorry, it's Chris's producer, Rubio and Trump both said that the U.S. faced an imminent threat from Iran that justified war. Do you believe that we were faced an imminent threat?
No. And I don't even think that's really debatable. Iran was not going to attack the U.S. Now, the sort of bank shot argument that they're trying to make is that, well, yeah, but Israel thought it was an imminent threat. They thought Iran was going to attack them, and if that had happened, then we would have gotten dragged into it.
But
And I
they
think
clearly
Mark Warner-
said they clearly said that the U.S. faced an imminent threat.
Correct. Right, which is why I don't agree with it. You know, and I mean, Israel clearly faced a threat. There's no doubt. I mean, Iran, from their founding, has said, you know, part of their mission is to wipe Israel off the face of the map. But whether or not the threat to Israel was imminent is also debatable. But certainly there was no imminent threat to the United States.
Rubio says, we became aware that Israel, reading into who he would be talking about, Israel was going to attack Iran. And when they did that, Iran would retaliate against our people in the region and do what they could back here at home through lone wolf, sleeper cell, etc. So we had to act. Now, not only is that a totally separate rationale from controlling their nukes, but it is also a very bizarre way to deal with what Israel had suggested, if that even happened.
Yeah, no, that's the bank shot that I was referencing. That, well, this was going to happen, and then that was going to happen, and this third thing was going to happen, so therefore it was an imminent threat. I mean, to begin with, you know, if we didn't support Israel's attack, we have several leverage points that we could have used to tell them, yeah, don't do that, because we're not going to be with you. All right, if we didn't think that was a good idea, which is why I say at the end of the day, Trump wanted to do this. You know, he has been emboldened in his mind, despite his low approval ratings and the disapproval of a lot of different things that he's doing. Trump has done a whole lot of things, and he just keeps going. And I think he just figured, yeah, this is somebody else that I can take down. You know, Venezuela, he's got the blockade on Cuba. He's been threatening Greenland. He's been threatening Panama. He, bombed Nigeria. We forget about that, actually. You know, did a 3.5-month war with Yemen, another thing that we forget about. So I think the imperial presidency is upon us, and I think Trump, you know, wanted to take care of Iran. I saw Ambassador Huckabee saying as much today, so I think he made that choice. But yes, they have made the argument that you just described.
One sidebar issue. Is it illegal for members of the administration to be betting on Kalshi and Polymarket about what actions the administration is about to take?
Yeah, it's disgusting. I confess I don't know the exact law around that. But look, and this gets into the way Trump is running this administration. Yeah, I mean, part of it is what I just said. He said there are no checks on his power. He can do whatever he wants. He wants to rule like a dictator or a king, not like a democratically elected president of a constitutional republic. And that much is absolutely clear. And then second, the endless grift that is involved here by everybody involved in this administration. And points for creativity. I mean, they have figured out ways to put money in their pocket in 1,000 different directions. Yeah, it ought to be illegal for people of the administration to, I mean, it's sort of like, I'm a sports fan, so I followed in baseball. You had those players who were, who are now being investigated for having, done small little bets. And there's the problem with all these small bets. You can bet on, is he going to walk this guy? Well, if you're the pitcher, right, you can kind of control that. And now we've got administration officials betting on what policy actions they're going to take when they're the ones who are making the policy decisions. So yeah, that ought to be illegal. But in Trump world, if you can grab the money, it's yours. And that sort of lawless, oligarchical, corrupt behavior has become so embedded in everything they do, that they just think they can keep getting away with it, and we have to make sure they don't.
Is there any work being done in Congress to deal with affordability in this environment?
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. Blowing up the place that provides 20% of the world's energy, That's not going to help make things more affordable. And other than that, no. I mean, I don't see, other than, Trump claiming that affordability is a Democratic hoax. And this is a tough problem, if I may, not go too far down the road of just bashing on Trump here. Housing's too expensive, energy's too expensive, healthcare's too expensive, education's too expensive, and these are not easy problems to solve. But your average, working class family out there is looking at bills that are so much larger than when you and I grew up. They take up such a bigger percentage of their budget. There's no simple solution to this. We need to build more housing. We also need to make access to skills training easier. Not everybody needs to go get a 4-year degree. We're spending all this money to give them a 4-year degree, but we won't pay for 6 months of trade school. All right?
Right.
We need to change.
We've been pushing that on our show big time.
Amen.
Congressman, can I ask you one quick question?
Which policies that we should be focusing on? Sorry, go ahead.
A very novice question before we go. Is there one thing that you could say that you like that President Trump has done in the last year plus?
Yeah, sure, and that's sort of the stupidity of our politics. I mean, my father used to say a broken clock is right twice a day. The possibility that Trump hasn't done anything that someone likes is pretty close to zero because he's doing a lot. All right, so this notion that if you mention one thing that you think Trump did that was right, that makes you, complicit in everything else is just logically insane. No, in fact, the one that we're talking about, I've said this, the Reconciliation Act, which I try to refuse to call the one big beautiful bill, in it made a change in exactly what we were just talking about. It actually allows you to get access to Pell Grants for trade school. It made that change, and I think that is a positive policy direction. I'll also say one thing at the Department of Defense, they're moving quicker to buy innovative technologies. They've broken down some of the barriers. We're starting to see a change so that more innovation happens more quickly in working with private companies. Yeah, of course there's things that the Trump administration have done that are okay. Now, I would quickly add that doesn't mitigate the whole host of other things that they've done that I don't like. But I think we need to be honest and intelligent about how we do this instead of just saying, okay, I don't like that person, therefore everything that comes out of their mouth is wrong. And that's not actually the way logic works.
Well, it's the way politics tends to work, especially in a binary system that's all about zero-sum advantage over the other side. But Representative Smith, you're better than that. And you are consistently, and I respect and appreciate you for it. And thank you for taking your time to speak to us in the audience today, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate the chance.
All right. Be well, brother, and be safe doing the work of the people. Now, I don't care. We're going to go to break. I don't care if you agree with everything Representative Smith says. The man acts and speaks with deliberation and integrity. And I'm not saying that because he's a Democrat. I'm saying that despite the fact that he belongs to one of the two parties, because I am anti-party. I believe in being independent. I think it is the only way forward for this country. Let's get after it.